Welcome to the Sassy CEO Podcast. I'm your host, PB, or Paula Bailey. And in this episode, we are talking all about bragging or convincing people while you're trying to sell. It came up in an event twice for me. Two women said to me that they, really hate boasting, they hate bragging. And I want to talk to you all about how you can avoid feeling this yucky feeling on your sales calls. So this is for you if you're someone who is talking to prospects on the phone, but really dreading it, feeling like you kind of suck at the whole thing and hating that time where you get to the point where you do the whole tap dance. Let me try and convince you that I'm better than the competition so that you spend your money with us. If that's something that you've hated and you're struggling with that, this is the episode for you. Pull up a pew. Let's have a chat about it. I've got some strategies and some mindset shifts for you to change it all up so that you can sell with ease and grace and connect with really great clients so that you can grow your business and be happy. Yes, let's get started. So, background to this particular episode of the Sassy CEO podcast. If you haven't already noticed, get a lot of my inspiration from you guys, from conversations that I'm having with you, from what's happening, questions I'm getting asked on social, what's maybe going on for Sassy CEO clients, what's going on for myself, and tapping into my own intuition for what I think needs to be said on any given day. And this week, I had the pleasure of going to a really cool event and meeting some amazing women in business. And something came up twice, which is always a sign for me. A comment was made twice from two different people, two different separate occasions, both women. And the comment went something like, I suck at sales, or I really am no good at sales, or I hate sales, and I can't do it. I really hate to boast, or I really hate to brag. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And so here we are today talking about this concept of bragging and boasting. If that's you, if you're someone who really hates that and you feel like it's impinging on your ability to make sales in your business, which is what's actually creating revenue in your business, we need to have a conversation today, which is exactly why you and I are here. So you feel like you need to brag. If you're feeling like you need to resort to bragging or boasting about how good you are at what you do, something has gone wrong. I'll say it again. If you feel like you need to brag or you need to boast, I call it doing the tap dance. It's like I'm doing this tap dance and I need to keep, kind of convincing this person. And how am I going to convince them? This feels so awful. Of course it feels awful. If that is how you're feeling, then something has gone wrong in your process way before you ever got to speak to that person. So we're going to talk about what could have possibly gone wrong before you spoke to that person, and then chat about a few things of, how we can fix that up. So first of all, the very first thing that I see that could possibly go wrong in you landing up and feeling the need to brag or boast is a lack of specificity. I don't know if I'm saying that word. I really suck at saying that word, but being specific, a lack of being specific without spitting all over the microphone. Because here's the new rule for you. You do not help everyone. I know that this is really, really common amongst a lot of service business owners where we feel like we don't want to say no to anyone. I think as women, we hate saying no, full stop. We don't want to exclude anyone. We fear losing money if we say no to certain jobs or client opportunities. And we think, well, how can I be saying no to that? Because I want to be, increasing my revenue. So surely we can make this work. And we end up spending all this energy saying, surely we can make this work. But how does it fit in the grand scheme of bragging? You see, when you come at your sales process from a point of view of we're all inclusive and we can help anyone, and just anyone, get on the phone and let's have a chat about your situation. I'm sure we can find a solution. Oh my goodness, there are so many layers of what is going on there that I could spend hours going down several different rabbit holes from a mindset, performance, subconscious point of view, both from your from you and also the person getting on the phone with you. But I want to keep this fairly straightforward so that you really get the message that I've got for you today, and we can go down rabbit holes at another time. But when that is happening and you're sort of like, let's get on the phone and have a chat about what's going on. I've got no idea exactly what's wrong here, but let's do that. Is it any wonder that by the time you get to the end of the call, and now that you finally know what's going on, and maybe you thought the problem was A, but it's actually Z, Y, number 2 and 3, times 4 is their actual problem, and you're on the phone thinking, I think we can solve this. We just have to work out how we're going to solve this, and I just need to convince this person that we're the person to solve this. Is it any wonder that bragging or feeling like you need to brag or boast comes into it? Okay, so there is a breakdown here. And when you are very specific in the types of problems that you solve, or the types of people that you help, and the way that you help them, and the outcomes that you get for people, then the need to actually brag and boast becomes almost, well, it's not required, because something magic starts to happen, and it starts over even in your marketing. So before someone's even gotten on a phone call with you, they have a pretty good idea of what you do, of who you are, of the problems that you solve. They're not just going blindly going, you might be the person, because the other problem with this situation is most people in this bucket of inquiries tend to be price shopping. Now, I'm generalizing majorly. Not everyone is going to be price shopping, but if they really don't know or understand before they get on the phone with you how you are different, the only thing that most prospects have to compare you with someone else that they've inquired with is price. And that is why we often feel like we have to brag or boast or do the tap dance to convince that person that we're the best people for the job, because we are now falling into what I call the commodity zone. It's like the friend zone. If you're, from dating sense, it's like, you don't want to be in that zone, because there's no magnetism, there's no drive, there's no allure. That person is not like lining up to get your phone number. They are kind of like, yeah, how much? Oh, I don't know. That person over said they could do it for 20 an hour. And all of a sudden we've gone into this zone, and we're feeling like we really, really need to be very good at bragging or boasting or doing the tap dance to convince that person. So the marketing and the way that you present in your marketing, the way that you position yourself, the messaging, so that people who are engaging in your marketing, people who are watching what you have to say, engaging with your brand, get how you can help them. They get that there is, that this specific thing that I know I've got this problem with, and I'm pretty sure that this person is pretty good at solving that problem or subset of problems, and getting the type of outcome that I want. When I speak to that person, it's going to be a very, very different conversation. So this is the beginnings of understanding how, it's the pre-frame, it's the things that we're doing before we speak to that person that enables us to never have this situation where we feel like we've got to brag. So marketing, being really specific on who you serve, and not being, that person that just can help anyone, and, coming from a fear-based program, which is I can help anyone. I don't want to say no to anything. I want to be this all-inclusive person, because ultimately when you're that yes person, you are literally coming from a place of fear, which is I don't want to cancel anyone out for fear that there won't be enough. And that's a program, guys. Okay. It's a program of I'm not enough, or there's not going to be enough. And when we're playing in that I'm not enough, there's not enough time, there's not enough clients, and there's not enough money. People don't have enough money to pay me. We are literally vibrating on the frequency of not enoughness or lack. Okay. So you can see how these patterns start to emerge, and where we want to be obviously is, hanging out in the frequency of abundance of, there's plenty of clients, there's plenty of money in the economy to be injected into your business. There's plenty of people that want to pay you exactly what you deserve and what you want to be paid, so that your business is highly profitable. There's plenty, and it all begins with the pre-frame. So I want you to start thinking about that. Take a look at, when you felt like you've had to do the tap dance, how has it come through? Like, I know one of the conversations that I had this week with one of the ladies was, even based down to referrals. Like, it was a referral where she felt like she was having to brag. And that's a very interesting concept as well, because referrals if you are finding that you're getting referrals from certain sources and this sort of stuff is happening, all that tells me is this is a fabulous opportunity for you to go and have a chat and thank that referral. We're very grateful that someone's referring people to you. But, maybe have a chat about the types of clients that you like to help and, just getting a little bit clearer so that person knows that they're sending people to you for things that you can genuinely help with, and that there's a little bit of pre-framing going on so that they know, well, how do you want me to refer that person to you? Maybe it's a matter of, hey, yeah, introduce us, and then, maybe send them to check out our website so that they have a really good understanding of who we are or what our brand is all about, how we help and what sort of problems we solve, so that they're feeling really confident before they get on the phone with us about what we're doing. Make sense? Okay, so moving on, it's still in the pre-phase, obviously, as we're talking about pre-qualifying. And most people, most business owners do not do any form of pre-qualifying. You're just excited that people want to be on the phone with you. And it's like, great, let's get on the phone and have a chat. But what I want you to remember is your time is worth a lot of money. You might not realize that now, but I guarantee if I did a couple of my exercises with you based on what your target revenue is and based on how much you actually genuinely, not how much you feel you need to work right now, but genuinely how many hours, say a week or over a month or over a year you want to work, your hourly rate would actually blow your mind. I don't like talking in hourly rates, but for a lot of us, because we've grown up being paid on hourly rates or calculating things on hourly rates, sometimes it just helps to put it into units that make sense to your brain. I actually want to completely break down all paradigms and just collapse anything that has to do with you building wealth on hourly rates, because let's face it, it's not the greatest way to build wealth. But for the sake of this conversation, the point I'm trying to make is be protective of your time. Don't just be jumping on the phone with just anyone. So there's ways to pre-qualify people. And obviously your marketing is the first phase of pre-qualification. People, looking at your marketing, looking at the way that you message things, understanding the way that, maybe it's not the way you work, but understanding the types of people that you work with, understanding the types of problems that you solve. It's really clear, it's all positioned, just like we've all spoken about. But you can have then ways of pre-qualifying people. Maybe it's asking people to fill out a couple of questions. You can do a simple type form or a WooFoo form or something for people to actually fill in before they speak to you, so that you're gauging and you're getting information about this person. It's a completely different positioning. It's like you are saying, I am the consultant here because FYI, you're the expert in this situation. Too many people are coming into a sales arena kind of with completely the wrong positioning. And please don't misunderstand what I'm saying right now. I'm not saying that we're here to manipulate anyone, or we're here to be bossy, or to make someone do something that they're not prepared to do, or that's not the best fit for them. In fact, everything that I teach when it comes to sales is about connection, is about actually helping it be a win-win for everyone and helping someone make an empowered decision. And sometimes working with you is not the empowered decision, and we have ways of working that out. But pre-qualification not only helps with positioning of you, but helps you gauge information so that you can decide, A, is this person even the right fit for me to be spending 20 minutes, 45 minutes talking to them? Because if they're not, politely tell them that and maybe point them in the direction of somewhere else if you have any idea of what might be useful for them. But don't just be getting on the phone. Like, I think you need to have more boundaries around your time, more respect for yourself and how much of an expert you are in what you do. So pre-qualification done through, maybe it's done through some quick questions that you ask prior to someone actually getting on the phone to get a little bit more information, positions you well, reduces the need for you to feel like you've got to brag. Structure in your sales call. So, your pre-qualification is that kind of like that first layer of structure in your sales call, but having a structured script for your sales call is really important. And I'm not saying some stuffy old 1980s dude bro like script that forces people to do something that they don't want to do. I'm not talking about manipulation. I'm talking about a script that genuinely walks a prospect through where they're at, so that not only can they understand, where their problems are, because FYI, a lot of people who are speaking to you don't often really understand what the problem is. Do you ever find that? I mean, I'd love to hear from you what you think, but in your, in your opinion, when you really think about it, a lot of our potential clients don't really understand what is the problem. They've got a perception of what the problem is, which is where we often hit them up with marketing. We give them what they want, and then when they're with us, we actually give people what they need. So we've got that layer of communication. But a lot of people don't really understand. So when you've got a really great sales script and it's really well structured, it's a win-win for everyone because they're giving you their time too. So we want it to be valuable for them. So you can actually structure your sales calls in such a way so that you can not only elicit an understanding of where the client's at, where they want to be, like how things are when this particular problem is solved for them, what they're looking for, what they perceive as problems, and then, filling in the gaps for them so that you both can work out whether what you do is actually the right fit for them. When you're doing this and you're actually selling in a more consultative manner, which is what I'm speaking of here, you're selling from an expert status. And again, don't let the word selling, cancel you out. I feel so many women are so scared of this concept of selling. We're not talking about manipulating or, doing the tap dance. It's a real conversation. It's connection. It's understanding where prospects are at so that we can really genuinely help to make the decision for ourselves first, whether we can help them. And then once we've done that, if we can help them, helping them to just understand, very top line the process. But, here's the real kicker here. When people are connected to you, they've really felt connected with you. Maybe it's from your marketing, and then when they're speaking to you and you both feel really aligned and connected, and there's a lot of energetic work that can go into that. But just, it's human nature. People will buy from people like them. People will buy when they feel safe and they feel like they can trust. And, buying is a very emotional thing for anyone. That is why we spend, money is often from an emotional point of view. Yes, we've got logic, and depending on someone's particular personality type, some people will be more logical than others, but there is an emotion to buying. So when you've got a very clear structure on how you run your conversations when you're speaking to prospects, and you've got that structure there, it really helps to position you and, again, reduce the need for you to get to the end of this call, or worse still, be on the call the whole time feeling like you're like trying to convince this person that you're the best agency or you're the best expert or service provider to do what it is that they want, because we want to move away from this belief that we're in competition. You are not in competition with anyone when you are truly clear on how you help, how you're different. If you don't know how you're different, you need to go right now, stop the podcast, pause it, go write down 5 reasons why you are different to anything else or anyone else on the market. Because if you're not clear on that, it's going to be very difficult for you to have that come across when you're having conversations with people, okay? And that's why you're resorting to feeling like you've got to do this really icky, like I'm doing the whole convincing, trying to convince you that we're the right people. So structuring in your sales calls, having that script and being really clear on how that's going to roll. And then the more you do that, the more you have that implemented, the more you practice it, the better it's going to be. Don't be afraid of initially having a script. When I first started creating scripts for my businesses, I've trained sales teams, I've trained other people's, whether it's business owners or people that are selling for them. A lot of people can feel really scared about the concept of having a script. They feel like they're going to feel robotic, but it's just a starting point, and it gives you that structure. I love structure and order, right? Gives you that structure and that feeling of support. As you get better and better, you need the script less and less, because you kind of understand the psychology behind why you ask certain questions and why we do things at different times to help people along their journey to finding their solution. Be okay to say no. Okay, this is a really big, scary one for a lot of us. I mean, I've talked about being really specific, but for so many women in business, we are terrified of saying no, but it's empowering. Warren Buffett says billionaires say no. Okay, so we have to get really, really clear on, what we will take on. Okay, so we want to get clear on what your boundaries are, what your definitions are for like rockstar clients, rockstar prospects, and don't deviate. Don't be afraid to actually have boundaries. Don't be afraid to say no. And you're energetically, if you're prepared to say no, you find that naturally you're less inclined to be going into this archetype of, the jester who's doing the dance. Like, that's the way I often liken it when I'm doing sales training. When I say you get to this point and you feel like you kind of can see yourself doing it, you're doing this tap dance to try and convince this person. When you go into that space, stop yourself from doing that. Something's gone wrong along the way, and we need to remove that part of the sale call for you. So be okay to say no. Maybe it's okay to say no to someone who wants to have a call, but once you've done the pre-qualification questions, straight up just by their questions that they're probably not going to be the greatest fit, or your business is not going to be the greatest fit for helping them. With honor and grace, go out to them and actually let them know that with respect and love, and maybe help them out to find their way. If you know, don't be afraid to say no on an actual call if something doesn't feel right. If you find yourself going into this, I've got to work out how we would the solution for this, and I know we can do it, but I've got to figure out how we're going to do this, and then I'm going to send a really convoluted proposal, and I hope that this works. Like, when you're going down those rabbit holes, please stop, because from a sales perspective, it feels really funky, but B, from a service delivery point of view, like, your systems of delivery cannot be scaled if you're constantly creating and recreating and doing bespoke stuff over and over again, and it lends to a really poor customer experience and often a poor customer outcome. So don't be afraid to say the big NO every so often. Just don't fear being okay to hold your power is, I think, the biggest message I've got for you here. Competition is a concept that is actually just a fallacy. It's created by your ego. It's created from a concept of fear that someone is going to take something away from you, or that there's not enough of something to go around. There is no such thing as competition, because there is no you. There is no, if it's you and your team, there's no other team that has the blueprint that is all the people coming together for what you do. There's no one that will have the personality of you or have the knowledge of you in the exact order of you. You kind of know this. And so competition is this irrelevant concept that really stems from fear. And I want you to let go of it. I want you to let go of the fear of having to be better than someone else or having to be good enough. And when we reprogram those internal dialogues for ourselves and instead replace it with love and acceptance and non-judgment, as well as some of the tactical things that I've spoken about with you today, you'll find that need to feel like you've got to prove yourself to anyone disappears. And guess what? You might actually start to really enjoy connecting with your prospects, chatting to your prospects, and figuring out together whether, you're a good fit. Sales becomes such a beautiful thing when you're coming from a very different paradigm. So I hope today that that's helped you. If you're someone who has in the past, listen to my language, if you're someone in the past who has felt like you've needed to do the tap dance, go through this episode a couple of times. Don't be afraid to connect with us. Come into our free Facebook group, the Sassy CEO Society. You can find it on Facebook. Hit us up there, join, answer a few questions just to get in, because we too pre-qualify everyone to make sure that you are also a good fit for us to be able to serve you and give you some juicy goodness inside of that private free free membership. So please head over to the Sassy CEO Society in Facebook and, join the rest of us over there, because I'd love to talk to you more about your sales process and help you really dial this in so that you can start to have a very structured process to increase your revenue. You don't have to do much to make huge impacts on your current conversion rates and thus your revenue. You'd be surprised how just a small increase in your conversion rates can have a big impact on your bottom line of your revenue. And then from there, helping you actually scale that out into something that's beautifully aligned with what you want, that leaves a legacy or makes an impact on the world, but also provides you with a great life so that you can be happy. Because why else are we in business? I say it all the time, because we actually want to be happy. So no more tap dancing. Make sure that you start implementing these tactics. Make sure you start reducing looking at your beliefs around competition and how you feel in your business. Fall back in love with your business. And most of all, just get in there and have a go at doing these strategies. You'll be surprised how quickly it starts to change for you. On that note, I'm off. I cannot wait to catch you again on another episode very soon of the Sassy CEO Society. Don't forget, if you've got other amazing business owner friends who you think, yeah, they're going to like this, they'll vibe with this sort of message, please share the word, share the love. That's, kind of like share on the karma. We want to expand the love of the Sassy CEO message across the world for more conscious business owners to be expanding their business in a very conscious way. Thank you so much for being here. I'm always very grateful for your time, and I'll catch you on another episode very soon. Bye.